Hello, my name is Roxanne McMillan. This video will present a brief overview of the Darwin Core metadata standard. Darwin Core was developed as a standard for sharing and integrating data about biological diversity. The Darwin Core website states that the standard is comprised of a glossary of terms which facilitate the sharing of biodiversity information, as well as documents relating to the history, use, and implementation of Darwin Core. Darwin Core is based on the standards developed by the Dublin Core Metadata Initiative and can be viewed as an extension of Dublin Core for biodiversity information. Darwin Core is primarily based on taxa and how occurrences of taxa, defined as groups of one or more populations of an organism, are studied and documented. Initially conceived in 1999 as a loose set of terms, it took 10 years and a number of iterations before the standard was formally ratified in 2009, the year which also marked the 200th anniversary of Charles Darwin's birth. The standard was developed by the Darwin Core Task Group of the Taxonomic Databases Working Group and continues to be maintained by the TDWG, now also known as Biodiversity Information Standards. Creating a common language for biodiversity data was challenging because natural history data curation practices have been developed locally and organically over hundreds of years, have varied between disciplines as well as institutions, and have had a limited culture of data sharing. This can make broad-scale research difficult. Darwin Core developers address these problems by engaging the biodiversity community in the creation of a common set of terms for data description. This chart illustrates the 10 broad classes of Darwin Core terms. Record-level terms include 8 Dublin Core terms adapted for the biodiversity community. The other classes are occurrence, organism, event, location, identification, taxon, geological context, resource relationship, and measurement or fact. If we look at the reference guide, we will see that there are currently nearly 200 sub-elements which describe the classes. We can choose to click on any of these terms to learn more about their history and their usage. Darwin Core is guided by the principles of flexibility and adaptability. Flexible to accommodate new technologies in which it might be used, and adaptable in that it is open to adding new terms as the biodiversity community deems necessary. The Darwin Core namespace policy outlines the process for adapting or adding terms. Flexibility and adaptability are also evidenced by the fact that none of the terms are designated as mandatory. There also seems to be some flexibility with regard to controlled vocabularies. A number of terms suggest sources, such as the Getty thesaurus of geographic names. However, many terms, though they suggest controlled vocabulary as best practice, do not specify one. Looking again at the diagram, the section outlined here in green represents simple Darwin Core, so we should take a look at what this is and how it is used. Simple Darwin Core is a defined subset of terms which have common use across a wide variety of biodiversity applications. Simple Darwin Core allows only a flat structure of attributes and values and could easily be represented in a spreadsheet or single database table. It can be shared in a number of applications, including text, XML, and RDF. Simple Darwin Core is flexible in that it places few restrictions on fields. However, there are some rules for usage. Among these are the stipulations that any term name can be used as a field name, but field names must only be used once in a record. Broad class terms cannot be used as fields in Simple Darwin Core. In cases where Simple Darwin Core is too simple, it is recommended that users supplement the core record with one or more associated extensions, or use a richer structure, such as generic Darwin Core, or the Access to Biological Collections Data, ABCD schema, which is also maintained by the TDWG. The Simple Darwin Core page includes guides for sharing data as text files in XML or in RDF. Darwin Core terms can be formatted or shared in fielded text formats, such as one or more comma-separated value files. Simple Darwin Core data in CSV format can be shared in a single file, while a non-standard text file can be understood using an XML metafile to describe its contents and formatting. This simple use case diagram illustrates that concept. The Darwin Core website includes a generic Darwin Core XML schema from which other schema can be constructed. It also has a simple Darwin Core XML schema as a complete schema ready for use, a schema to allow Darwin Core data transfer in text files, and associated reference schemas for the construction of more structured content. Looking at the simple Darwin Core schema, we can see its flat structure, consisting really only of element names. RDF, with its basis in linked data, holds promise for exploring connections between biodiversity data and related disciplines. However, the process of adapting Darwin Core terms to RDF's IRIs was somewhat problematic. The guide provides instructions for use of Darwin Core terms in RDF and provides guidance for using terms from other key vocabularies. Relatively new software, the bi-sci-col triplifier, is designed to simplify the process of converting biodiversity data in standard tabular formats, such as Darwin Core archives, into RDF. Since Darwin Core does not specify relationships, the developers of bi-sci-col needed to define these relationships among the core classes in order that they might be expressed as RDF triples. This is illustrated in this entity relationship model, which is pictured. Darwin Core is widely used. The Global Biodiversity Information Facility, or GBIF, for example, indexes more than 6 million records from all over the world. In Canada, Canadensis, operated from the Université de Montréal Biodiversity Centre, is a Canada-wide effort to make biodiversity information accessible to everyone. The Canadensis network includes over 11 participating universities, 5 botanical gardens, and 2 museums, which collectively house over 13 million specimens. Collection managers openly publish their data as Darwin Core, and it is made accessible via a central web portal. Canadensis and other repositories usually upload Darwin Core text file datasets, called archives, via GBIF's Integrated Publishing Toolkit. This is a Canadensis record for an occurrence of a type of fungi. If we click on the Darwin Core view, we can get a very clear idea of how Darwin Core is implemented in this database. The structure is apparent, with broad categories, their associated subcategories, and corresponding data. Darwin Core's importance lies to a large extent in its provision of a standardized and interoperable approach to documenting global patterns of biodiversity change. This is increasingly significant given the current urgent concerns surrounding ecological and climate change and species loss.